Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning. And we'll start with Anna from UN Women and her opening remarks.
Thank you, Sonia, and good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Felt. I'm from UN Women, leading our work on women's economic empowerment, which entails a lot, women in STEM, women in technology, entrepreneurship, procurement, and many other areas. I'm so excited to be here. It's been a long process for us to look at all of the applications, almost 300 applications to the Equals in Tech Award, to really figure out who are the ones that we should put here with us today and share their experiences, lessons learned, the struggles. We hope you'll also hear some about the challenges, and to learn from it. They're really, really great role models, and what we've heard in the past few days is that we really lack role models. And one of the reasons why we have the Equals in Tech Award is to promote more role models and women in tech. It was the previous GEM Tech Award that we've been doing for a few years, but with the launch of Equals in September 2016, we also rebranded the award so that we are now going in full force. You may know about the Equals from the past few days and from previous encounters with Equals. We try to be in all of the conferences and spaces to spread the word about how we can bridge the gender-digital divide. And as we're all sitting with our computers and mobile phones, it might be difficult to really understand the depth of this gender-digital divide. We have about 1.7 billion women in the world who don't have a mobile phone. And we are trying to build a business case for the private sector and actors to really take action. We know, for example, a calculation of $170 billion market opportunities is in actually making sure that women get access to mobile phones. But at the same time, we as UN Women have been working with the Vatican in discussing the connectivity as a human right. Is it a human right? Is it something that we should push as a human right, or do we need to continue to work on the business case? And maybe we should continue on both fronts, because we know that it has tremendous cost to society of not tackling these issues. And it's not only about giving access, it's about getting the adoption to the technology and that people know how to use it and use it to build skills. The good news is that women are much more likely to use the internet for learning purposes. So once we get them on board, we know that they will be using it more for those purposes. We also know that about 73% of women have endured cyber violence. And we talked a little bit about in the past few days about how that has cost to companies in terms of absenteeism, in terms of lower productivity when women in general are faced with domestic violence and violence in the public space. We also know a little bit about what works and what doesn't work. We know that public access to Wi-Fi is a good way to promote women's access to the internet, and we can see in many cities around the world that it has started to be a practice. We also know that household, when you're giving, when one member of the household is buying a phone and get a second one free, that this will be given to a woman, and that also enhances her access. We know that digital skills training works. And it's important to also link this to access to finance, that the FinTech agenda is also brought into these discussions. But I'm more excited actually to hear about our award winners and how they have tackled the issues of access, skills, and women's leadership. And not only are they role models themselves, but they have also helped other women to get access and skills in the internet and become leaders in this space. So I would like to congratulate Naila, Kemla, and Roya for their amazing work, and I'm so excited to hear more about it. We heard a little bit yesterday, but we hope to have a little bit more in-depth discussion. So Thank you very much, and on behalf of UN Women and our partners with ITU and other partners of Equals, I'm excited to be here. And Sonia, over to you.
I'd also like to congratulate all the winners. So Naila from Lebanon, and Kemley from Costa Rica, and Roya from Afghanistan. We're going to hear a bit more about their amazing projects. But what we also want to focus on is the challenges they faced and how they overcame them, so it can be an inspiration, and there's some lessons to be taken for everyone else who'd like to help close this gender divide around the globe. So if we would just start from Naila, what were the greatest challenges that you faced working on your project?
Is it working? Yes.
Can I just mention the hashtag Equals in Tech? You also have it on the banners here.
When I was little, I wanted to become a judge, but they told me it's not a girl job. So I became a teacher and used a ruler instead of a hammer. This could look like a joke, but this is the reality of girls and technology. Technology is a boy job. And so girls don't even dare to come near these kinds of jobs. So I will be telling you the story of our project, Girls Can Count, and while telling you the story, I will be sharing our constraints and what response we gave to those constraints. How much time do I have? I'm always afraid in Switzerland.
Well, we'll start with 3 minutes each.
Okay.
But please.
So LAL is a Lebanese NGO. It's a small NGO founded in 2014. It believes in equitable access to quality education, and we mainly do digital education. We have a platform. It's called Tabshura. Tabshura means chalk. I don't know. Craie, c'est la craie. And the objective of Tabshura was relevant with the Syrian refugee crisis. It aims at filling the gaps and helped students, at least Syrian refugee students, keep up with school. It also helps. It's also a support for Lebanese children. We focus on discovery activities and reasoning skill. We have curriculum, extracurriculum in 3 languages. The 3 languages used in Lebanon: Arabic, English, and French. So this is very, very briefly who we are. How did we came with the Girls Can Count project? Well, during our field visit, we do not teach. We only provide resources and training, but we go and assess our resources. So during our field visit, we noticed the inequality of education between boys and girls, although the rate of secondary girls in school, at least in Lebanon, is, and you may be surprised, higher than boys. Because of the economical crisis, boys are taken out of school to work. So there are more girls in school than boys at the secondary level. But those girls have different education than boys. A lot of them have, while boys have technology or computer lessons, they have hairdressing or sewing or these kinds of workshops, especially when I go into the refugee community in Lebanon. And one day we were checking the equipment of a computer room, of a computer lab, and one girl, her name was Lama, she came to me and said, I want to be a computer engineer, but they don't let me have the computer courses. They take me to hairdressing. I don't want to be a hairdresser. I want to be a computer engineer. And the friend who was with her, Rasha, she told me, and me, I want to be an architect. And she showed me her house, who was completely destroyed by the war, rebuilt by her. So she was drawing the house with a garden, with vegetables. And so here came the idea of the Girls Can Count project. The Girls Can Count project aims at reinforcing STEAM skills for secondary girls, fighting against stereotypes and tradition, and helping them access their dreams. So we do STEAM activities. in order to help them do so. And we face, and I will come to the constraints, we faced several constraints. Constraint one was convincing the family that girls will not meet bad boys while using the computer, but this was a main issue. We don't want our girls in front of a computer. They will use this social media and they will meet boys. And one of the solutions, it's not perfect, it was to have informal meeting with the families. Basically, we had food and drinks, so they were coming, and we would try to let them see our resources, discuss with them, etc. The constraint two was convincing the school and the teacher to change their teaching habits, introduce ICT. And the solution we found was considering the school as a partner and giving it the visibility. Visibility was important for the teacher's management. And recruit some of the best teachers to be our champion and to help other teachers use the technology in class and providing them with a small amount of money so they will do this seriously. Constraint number three was devices. This is why we partner with an NGO called Zaki that provide refurbished computers and others who provide also low-cost tablets. Constraint number four, and the biggest one, was access. And the solution was the box. The box I'm showing you use Raspberry. I say I'm showing you the box because you are looking at your computer. Look at my box. So the box is a tiny server. It's a Raspberry Pi technology, so it's a mini server. We put all our content on a memory card, so it's very easy to replace when we do more activities or we change our activities. This tiny server, hotspot, wireless, 30 computer, so a whole computer room. We are using it in community center. We are also using it in tented facilities. And we also in Lebanon have electricity problems, so we can put the power bank and it have 10-hour electricity-free autonomy. The last constraint I will be talking about is the learning gaps and language gaps. We first wanted to do STEAM problem-based approach. We were very excited about that. It didn't work. It didn't work because girls had severe gaps. So they couldn't use resources to reinvest into finding solution to problem. What we did is that we did a two-level program. The first level was giving the girl basic resources, basic concepts in science or math, and then having a STEAM exercise and linking the STEAM exercise with the resources they have already studied and we have already developed, and of course others, so they can use other resources. The other difficulty was the language. In Lebanon, we teach science, math in French or English, not in Arabic. And for Syrian refugee, it was a big issue. We had the chance to partner with an Oxford fellow, Dr. El-Masri, on a research about designing tasks and asking questions. And we had some very useful recommendation. I didn't respect my time, so I will share it with you later if you're interested.
Okay. Then in order to not to go back, but very shortly, Naila, I want to talk about, it's usually the STEM areas, science, technology, engineering, and math,
Yes.
but you have added art to it.
Yeah.
So very shortly, why did you add art, and what was the effect?
I will be
Made
very
it if
short.
possible.
It's a big discussion in the education world. Is art part of STEM or no? So it's some are with, some are. It's a debate, but we clearly think that art is a plus to STEM to STEM. Art is a creative way of using creativity to solve problems also. So we can use science, technology, and creativity to solve some problems.
Thank you very much. And now to Kamli, also, well, definitely not 3 minutes, at least 5 minutes. And could you tell us shortly about your project and the challenges and how you overcame them?
Thank you very much. My name is Kemli Camacho. I'm from Sulabatsu Cooperativa. It's a cooperative based in Costa Rica, but we work in Central America with partners in all the countries in Central America. Our project, the name of our project is TICAS, and now it's TICAS Central America. And the focus of the project is in the IT industry. We are interested to create more opportunities and more conditions for women to be integrated in equal conditions, yes, in the IT industry. Why we want that? First, because it's related with the economic rights of the women at this moment, at this time in the history, yes. The digital technology is built mostly by men. The digital technology we are using for our daily life is built basically by men. But this is not a good issue. We need more women integrated in the IT industry, in the high level, doing high level technology. And then this is the focus of our project. All of that began in 2011 when we have had some conversations with young women who were studying informatics, computers, and other related careers. And they tell us about all the difficulties they have to really open spaces in an industry who has only 20% or less women integrated, yes? And then the difficulties were not just in the IT enterprises, in the IT industry, but also in the university careers, also in the informatic careers, also in the technical careers related with IT. That began in 2011 when we have had this discussion, and then we began to try to define how we can open these spaces, but open these spaces with the young women, yes? Then that was one point where we began all this project. The second point is when we discuss with the young women in the IT sector, they tell us that first, they wanted to come back to their territories, to their own territories, to use the technology to develop their own territories. Many of them came from the rural areas to study in the universities, in the urban areas, or they study in the different headquarters in rural areas, in the universities or institutes. But one interest of women is to really use the technology to develop their own territories. They want to come back and develop their own territories. Then the combination of these two issues, we want to develop our territories and we want to open opportunities for women in the IT sector, where the seat of TICA's program, yes? Then based on that, first thing we decide is it's impossible for just one woman in one class. I teach in the university informatics, and I always have 30 guys and one girl, yes? Or 30 guys and 2 girls. Then it's impossible for her to really have a leadership in the IT sector when they are 1 or 2 with 30 guys, yeah, with 30 men. Then the first thing that we do is begin to create a network between women in the IT or interested in IT development. develop a network between them, and we began meeting, discussing, and creating proposals together, yes? And this network is growing up, is growing up. Now we have not just one network, but we have different networks in different parts in the country and now in Central America. Then we have networks who connect, who create proposals, who propose to even to the universities how to develop an IT career more inclusive, yes, less expulsive of the different. Because something that is important also is in the IT sector, this problem is not just for women. It's also, for instance, for Afro-Caribbean. We don't have Afro-Caribbean people inside the IT industry, or we don't have a lot of indigenous people inside the IT industry, or even people with disabilities. We don't have a lot. Then we have to create a new IT industry who integrate the diversity, beginning with women, because we are the half of the population. Then one of the ways that we work on that is creating these different networks to support each other, to integrate other women's interested in develop the IT industry, interested in develop IT in general, interested in creating technology. And we grow up in networks and sub-networks who connect to each other. This is one thing. The other thing is we began to develop the technological poles in the rural areas with the leadership of women. Then these women, many of the women already graduated, come back to the rural areas and began to develop their own enterprises and their own software, yes, and their own technology for the rural areas. And we began to develop a local digital economy very connected with the needs of the rural populations. Then this is the second part we have done. We have different strategies. I'm not going in depth on that. But for instance, we have clubs of girls and technology, mothers and technology. We have a club for no drop-off of women in IT careers. We have hackathons for women to develop ideas, et cetera, et cetera. And we support all the entrepreneurship, IT entrepreneurship by women.
Okay, again, very shortly. So were there any differences between working with women in rural areas compared to urban areas, or are the challenges so similar that the solutions are the same? Very shortly, please.
No, really, there is a big difference working in the rural areas than in the urban areas. Just to mention two or three, one is the stereotypes and patterns in the relationship between women and technology is stronger in the rural areas, yes? The second is, of course, we have the difficulty with the access to the technology, and we have to create innovative solutions to have access to the good access to develop in a digital economy in the rural areas. Then we have to be very creative on that, yes? And also, there are more opportunities in the urban areas. Definitively, there are more opportunities for finance, for training, for support, yes? And we need to develop policies to develop a digital economy in the rural areas with the lead of women.
Thank you. And now to Roya, again, what were the challenges that you faced? And by the way, after Roya, we're going to open the floor for questions, so both in situ participants and remote. But yeah, first, Roya, can you tell us a bit about your project and your challenges?
Sure. I wanted to start it from when I connected to the computer. I grew up as a refugee in Iran, and we back to Afghanistan in 2003. But I found out it's very difficult in Afghanistan to find even a book to be updated with the information that I could learn in the schools. And the other problem that we living in the houses that was separated from each, the big wall separated all of us from each others. It wasn't jail, but it felt like a jail. And I always thought that how I can find information outside, how I can have access to the outside world. Then in 2003, everything changed. There was an internet cafe open in Herat, and only my brothers and cousins could go there, and a good girl wouldn't walk in. But I was insisted to go there, and I refused to give up my dream. And one day I was walking in this inner club, and for the first time I used the internet. And at that day, everything for me changed, and I found out that there are more than out than what was around of me. And I decided at that moment to make technology the center of my career. I went to the school, graduated from computer science. I started my business in 2010 with my younger sister. The first company of technology that a woman was a CEO in Afghanistan. But being tech female CEOs anywhere in the world will introduce you some obstacles. In Afghanistan, that the women are not supposed to work outside, the attack against of me was devastating, both personally and professionally. We couldn't have access to the financial and law line that is very difficult for any woman who start businesses. We had also the challenges of the security, the cultural barriers, technical support, everything that you can imagine we had challenging with that. They also started to send a threat to, Taliban sent the threats, and we had to deal with the conservative, male-dominated IT industries that they didn't want that we can continue to work, to follow us. And they put in on a spy, they accuse us that we are a spy of outside. And many of these challenges that I found out that is very difficult. But if I was created, what message I could send to the many of the girls who want to have the same career? So I decided to not quit, but we become as a digital entrepreneur. So that's why technology helping us, that to lower our physical address, but make our presence online. And in this way, I found my investors, I continue to find the clients outside, and I continue the work that I would love and created more jobs for the women. But then I found that there are millions of the girls who are out there just like me, curious but giving no vision to explore the world. So we wanted to change everything for them, so that's why we started Digital Sun Fund. And giving the women access to technology, building the IT centers inside of the schools. And for me, it's very important to building them, to provide training for the girls from young age, because many of the girls in Afghanistan, they married under the age of 18. So we started to provide a training at the age of 12 to learn about computer, to learn about social media, to learn about coding, and it was great. But then we had also the challenges of the conservative society, that they don't want that the girls learn about technology. One of our colleagues is already mentioned that families always say that technology or internet bring the bad values, especially for the girls. They don't want to have access to technology. So we decided to tell them that, well, it's not about the internet, it's a created a job opportunity for your girls. So with the respect of the traditions, they can continue and make money, and they can evolve with their families. So we built a platform that allowed the women to write the blogs, and then they can share with the other people, and then they can make money with the platform. And then we had a challenge that how to pay the users. Then we bring the Bitcoins in 2013 in Afghanistan. But then we had the challenges of 2014 when the Americans and many of the international donors left. There wasn't enough jobs, so we got the unemployment rates in Afghanistan. Many of the graduated from university had a challenge to find a job. However, the students from this high school. So then we introduced the financial literacy to the program that was totally game changing. We teach the kids how to learn to manage the money from level of home to level of entrepreneurship. That was totally, with the tech, was totally game changing. And the family was super happy because the girls started to helping the family in terms of how to finance, how to do the taxing, how to do accounting, saving, and everything they could help them. And then last year, we helped them to also start their own startups. So with the financial literacy training and as well the tech skills, now they started to have 100 women to start their own startups. Most of this age between 12 to 18 years old. We have a student who is 16 years old and have 25 people work for her. We have a student that 8 months ago started a uniform shop, and she already made it $8,000, and she is only 14 years old. So it's a lot of the money. Now they are starting to support on their families. We make them as a role model for other girls and other communities that they can look at them and they says, okay, if she can do that with respect of the tradition and the culture, so our girls can do the same. But a year ago, that was all of the projects that I have done in Afghanistan had a great impact in the society. But one of the things it was totally changed everything. It was a robotic team that probably, I don't know if you have heard about that. A year ago, there was First Global contacted me and asked me to building a robotic team to bring it to the international competition. And I thought that why not to make all team of the girls. So it's definitely send a message to the world and as well all the girls and women in Afghanistan. So we built this team, we brought it, I mean, with a lot of like difficulties, we brought them to the US. But what is making it interesting about this team, when we were in Afghanistan, the government and leaders tried to ignore us. And for 3 weeks we were in all the news. But they didn't want to say even one word that they are proud of these girls. They even didn't recognize us. It's like centuries that they ignored the women's ability in science and technology. They did the same with us. But we didn't want to be quiet. So that's, again, technology helped us to give a voice and talking with the media, with the social media, and telling everybody about our stories. And that's bringing us to the United States. But when we back from the United States, it was totally changed.
I'll ask you comments before you wrap up.
I said that when we back to Afghanistan, everything changed. After centuries that the women's abilities ignored in science and technology, now the community changed their view about the women's ability.
So I was going to ask about like what were the aspects that would help, or like the best practices that would help women become more active in STEM areas in more societies where gender roles are much more traditional. But I think you already answered that, as in highlighting the economic aspect of things helps families and the society be perhaps more open. Could we say that?
Exactly, yes.
So I'd like to take questions from the room, or if we have any questions online for our participants. Well, they presented it so well that there aren't any questions. No, nothing online.
Hello, good morning. First of all, congratulations to all of the 3 winners for your extremely important work. I'm very amazed and overwhelmed of your presentations. Thanks a lot. My name is Birgit. I work for the German government in the Ministry for the Development Cooperation. And in 2017, Germany headed the G20 presidency. So we pushed very hard to put the topic of the digital gender divide on the agenda of the Development Working Group. And we are very proud that at the end, we made it, the 20 biggest economies committed to promote digital skills for women and girls to overcome the digital gender divide. So this is at the policy level. But still we know that there's a huge gap between the policy level and the political will, and on the other hand of the important work at the ground that needs to be done. And so I'm very glad that there are these important initiatives that you are taking actively on board. And I would like to ask you about the financial issues. How easy or how difficult is it for the 3 of you to get financial sustainability for your activities? As I understood, for example, Ruth from Afghanistan, I heard that you're really making out a business case out of it. So maybe it's self-sustainable because, it's a business model. But I would like to hear from you what is the model of sustainability of your activities and how easy or difficult is it for you to get funding for your activities? Thanks a lot.
If everyone could limit their answers to like 2 minutes this time, it would be great. And from Roya to Kemli to Natla.
At the beginning, I started from my local company to finance every of our projects, but later when I left Afghanistan, we started Digital Sun Fund, and it's very, very difficult to raise the money through the donors or through the writing the grants. So that's why we are trying to right now focusing on to make it sustainable. One of the ways is that we started with these startups that they making money, they can giving 2% to the foundation that we can continue to work. And the other thing is that we are going to also start a coffee and tea business that we buying the spices from our students who are working in the farms, bring it to the US and selling the coffee and tea that it will be launched in January. For the within next 2 years, we will make it sustainable. The third things that we are right now working on is that the innovations that we are working with the STEM schools, that we are going to build the first STEM schools in Afghanistan, that one of the part of this STEM school is innovation centers that connected to be as an incubator place that make it totally like sustainable, our program with the longer term.
It's always difficult to get some financial support for the activities. In our case, something that is very, very important for us is the alliances. We have a strong alliances, for instance, with universities, with the schools, with the private sector, with the public sector, and with international cooperation. All these alliances put something in the project. Yes, for instance, in the universities, we develop all the infrastructure is based in the universities. Yes, then they put the infrastructure. From the public sector, for instance, we get some scholarships for the women and for the girls to come to the different clubs. Then we try to get a specific support from the different alliances. Then in this way, we finance, yes, the project. At this moment, we have the support of Google.org to expand the project to Central America, and we have had the support of the Gender Equity Fund from UN Women. But the project is based in alliances.
You won't be surprised if I say very difficult too. Especially that some funds are heavy, so it takes too much work to write reports, to answer some, to get the program running, so it's easier not to have them. We have two solutions. One of our solution we have presented to the WISE Accelerator and been selected. So we will work on a sustainability idea because we are completely free. Everything we give for free, boxes, programs, etc. So we're working with the WISE for our sustainability. The other is collaboration and volunteering. We work with a lot of retired teachers and young, freshly graduated students who need experience.
And something else that I'd like to hear from all of you is, I want to talk about the Equals in Tech Awards a bit, and shortly, like, what does the award mean to you? Why do you think it's important? And what are your plans for your initiatives, or are there any new initiatives for the following year in 2018? Yeah, we keep going right and left. So please.
For me, the Tech Award was very important on different levels, mainly because of the recognition. It's related to what I was saying from how heavy some funds are. It's a recognition of small initiative. It is the idea that with an idea, with a small initiative, you can do big things. And this is really important. We are a small young NGOs, and we are very honored to have been selected. What did you ask me to?
What are your near-term plans for your initiative in 2018?
So for the moment, we are doing. I will share my dreams. In fact, for the moment, we are doing curriculum. We are doing activities related to school because we are answering a need. But I think there is another need that I would love to fill. I don't know if you say to fill. It's extracurricular activities. I would love to use digital to bring to deprived community arts, music, science like astronomy, things like that. So to use the digital to make them discover art and culture and music and singers and dance.
I think it's amazing how you're bringing together the digital and technology with the more creative areas. So again, congratulations. And Kemley.
For us, the award is really something exceptional. It's, I don't know, is really important for us to be recognized for this work in the IT industry and based in the leadership of the young women networks. It's not just for us, it's also for the partners, the allies who are around all these projects. And it's in a special recognition for the young women who are trying to change the IT sector. Also for me, it's very important to recognize the 293 initiatives that have been presented. I think equals is crucial to recognize that we as women, we are trying to do a change, we are trying to change the digital society. And in terms of the future, we hope we can really have a model, proved, tested about how to develop technological poles in the rural areas with the lead of women. We really want to have a conceptual model, yes, to offer to the world and to have success, especially in the northern part of Costa Rica, where we have been working for the last 4 years, developing this technological pole, and also this scale up to...
I'm sorry, by pole, you mean surveys?
Pole means clusters, maybe technological host
Okay,
clusters, yes,
okay.
in the rural areas, and also the other thing is the scale up to Central America is the plan to begin now in 2018.
Well, this award means that the world and especially the tech industries recognize the importance of the work that we are doing at Digital Sun Fund after many years that we are working into empowering the women through digital literacy and also building the communities. So it's absolutely a big honor for us to be recognized at this such a great stage. But also, it's encouraging us to continue our dream and seeing that our projects are enough important to continue to not be only in Afghanistan, but is extended to many other countries. We're already in Mexico. We are going to extend it in Brazil. But 2 projects that we are going to do it in 2018. One is that to build in the first school of the science, technology, engineering, art, and maths innovation centers in Afghanistan to build in the next generation of the leaders in the science and technology. We want to make sure that Afghanistan be in the eyes of the next generation in the next 20 years, be a country of the source of high tech rather a country of the terror and war. The second thing that we also going to focus is to build, to launch our e-marketplace for the women who have a small and medium-sized business, that to help them to have smart contracts. They can give a loan. They can also have the access to the networks, educational material, and yeah, that's also another project that we are focusing on. That it's using the blockchain, is based on the blockchain platform as well. Hopefully we can have our own coin as well, but for the next year it would be a blockchain platform.
So since we started a bit late, I'm hoping we'll have a bit extra time. Okay, I'll take a few questions from the floor, and then we'll have closing remarks by Carla from ITU. So.
Hi, good morning. So my name's Steph, and I work in Egypt at a center a research center that looks at access to knowledge and development. And I had a question inspired by what Ms. Naila said about the Lebanese experience, because we've also encountered a bit of a challenge when it comes to teaching skills related to data analytics, because a lot of it is in English and then people speak Arabic. So I wanted to hear more about what you guys all experienced in terms of like language barriers and how that impacted who you could teach certain skills to, or if you haven't, or if you have ideas on, or what your experiences were in mitigating this language barrier, if you've encountered it. Thank you.
Well, we are in the middle of a reflection about language barrier. The main idea is that expressed by the Syrian refugees themselves, they do not want to have the content translated into Arabic. They do not want to be confined in a closed, so they want to be open to the world and to learn in another language. How to solve it? We are thinking about three solutions. The recommendation for Oxford was very basic, things like how to ask a question, repetition, using the same word in different words for the same concept, etc. So we have recommendation, very useful. It was very, very useful. So you repeat and be direct in the way you ask questions. So don't say, what do you think about, but say, give me an answer. This kind of recommendation. The second idea was to have, and this is also a debate, was to have it in mixed. It's a lot now in Africa to give resources in two languages in the same time. It doesn't mean you have translated in another language. You use some of the word in Arabic, some of the word in English, technical words in English. And the more you evolve, we evolute, the more you have more English and less Arabic. So this is one way. And the third way is doing support activities related to everything you are learning. So if you do math, you do support activity in language specifically for math.
Thank you. And there was a second question, second participant, and then we'll get to Dori.
My name is Josephine. I'm an ISOC ambassador. My question is, through my work with women in Kenya, the challenge we face is that whenever, like, we do digital literacy training for them, but then after that, when they go home, they don't have access to devices, or the internet is very expensive. So how can we be able to enable affordable access to devices and also the internet for women?
So is it for all the panelists? Okay. Okay, because we're running out of time. Who would like to take that?
You take other questions or not? We answer one question was by question.
No, if you could answer hers really quickly, then I will take
You want to
maybe
answer?
two more, and we'll close.
I think that we have the same challenges in Afghanistan, that many of the girls, they do not have access to the computer or not access to the internet connections. But now with many of the devices that are becoming cheaper and cheaper, it's make it much easier to have smartphones. There are smartphones that is cost $50 or $60, and they can connect it to the internet. That actually they started in India, and we hope to bring those devices to Afghanistan, that the other girls also have access to those devices in a cheaper and affordable cost. But in Afghanistan, we also have the 3G access. So the only thing is that for many of the girls to know how to use the technology and how to use the internet. And I think that is the same for many of the countries. If once they have access, they learn that what is this and what is these devices, or how they can use the internet connection, they can find out how they can get affordable cost and affordable internet connection, depending again to the government. And many of the organizations like Google is working in India, and there are also the Facebook that they're providing the internet connections and just to doing the sending the messages in the smartphones. And it probably in the near future we can have more access to technology.
And now that you mentioned Google and Facebook, I want to take advantage of the position. And so what do you all feel about the free services that they are providing? Is it productive? Is it beneficial? Or are you against it? Like things like free basics and internet.org, does it help?
I think that internet, Google.com, I guess that was the first things that it's used for us very well. We find a lot of information free. So sometimes the free is good. But I understand that sometimes the free also create a problem because you gave a lot of information, your personal data, that they will take advantage of that. And one of the things that I feel that many of these big companies, they grew and grew and bigger, get bigger, bigger, bigger. It's good that they're also giving back to those communities that they get benefit of them.
So maybe 50-50 then.
Yeah.
Okay. Final questions? Yes, please, Doreen.
Thank you. I'll try to be very brief. So congratulations again to our three winners. It's great to hear more about what you're actually doing. Often in the UN, we talk a lot, and what's great about having all of you here is we see the concrete actions that can really make a difference in bridging the digital gender gap. And thank you so much for highlighting the challenges that you have all faced in rolling out your initiatives. I wondered if you could very briefly comment on how you think you could scale your initiatives either within your countries or in other countries. And also if you're measuring what happens after. So what happens after women and girls are in your programs? Are you able to follow where they go next? Thank you.
I will answer the last question first because we are at a pilot phase, so we do not have this kind of information yet. As for the scalability, we are, what we're doing is that we are using digital library and partnering with Colibri, Khan Academy Light, Rami Tablets, and we are hoping to scale our content worldwide using international concept. Although we strongly believe in cultural identity and differences, so we are trying to balance between both approaches.
In our case, and we are exactly at this moment in the scaling up of the project to Central America, then what we have done first is to develop like a model for now, a draft model, yes. But in all the cases, we have organization counterparts in each country, yes. Then we are developing now this draft model. We are integrating lessons learned from other organizations in Central America to grow up this model with experiences of others. We always like to work in networks, and also something very important is the alliance. The alliances. We are working to create alliances, for instance, with university, with private sector in each country in Central America to support the process we are trying to scale up. Then for us, it's very important the networking and the alliances with multi-stakeholders in all the countries to really do the scale up. We also have a measuring model, yes. It's not, it's based in few indicators, but a lot of stories, yes. Then it's more based in stories of change than in measurement. We feel that all what is related with women actions is very much reflected in stories than in numbers. Then, but we combine both, but we like stories. Yes?
Sure. What we are doing is we wanted to extend our works in Brazil and Mexico and other countries in South of Asia as well. One of the things that we started for the Brazil is partnering with a company that they do recycling the technology stuff. So, so whatever we find that our partners are donated second-hand computers or electronic devices, this company will collect them and they send the profits of those devices to the foundation that we make it sustainable for Brazil. And then the other things that we wanted to do is that partnering with a different local organization or bigger organization to extend our works in other countries. But for terms of the measuring, we do two methods. One method is a traditional way. We do the survey, and we will see that what's happening within our program, and if the student, and we will see that if we have some mistakes in our program, then we will change our new programs. But then, as Kamala mentioned, that it's, I think that that's cool, but the most important thing is that how much we have successful story with one of our program. So for example, when I mentioned about the financial literacy, it was totally game-changing because we had a lot of successful stories come out from the program. So we will look at how much we can impact and how much we have successful stories that bring more impact in the society. In the past, we had contact with the students through our platform. That through the platform, we have communicate with the students who graduated. But when we shut down the platform, we find out that it's very difficult to know what's happening in their lives. So now with the new project that we have, this e-marketplace, that the students will start their startups, now they're going to register, and we will have a longer term to have communicated with them.
So, unfortunately, we're running out of time, and it was an honor to be on the panel with all of you amazing women. And thank you for inviting me as well. And Carla, please, closing remarks.
Thank you very much, and good morning. It's always very hard to give some concluding remarks at the end of this inspiring panel discussion. It is also very, very exciting, as Doreen said before, really to learn more about you and to also understand what are the real challenges. We have still a long way to go. We heard a lot about the stereotypes, cultural barriers, violence against women and girls. So we really need to work all together, and this is what Equals is all about. And we recognize many partners in the audience, of course, Germany, OSCHR, UNCTAD, ISOC, of course, Switzerland, and Facebook. So thank you again for being partners of Equals, but also research members, Equals research members like the University of Egypt. So thank you again. This is, I mean, again, is what Equals is trying to do. So we really want to scale up projects, but we also want to learn, and we also want to share information. So we hope to continue this discussion. I mean, today is just the beginning, but we want to continue the discussion in the next month. So follow us online and follow our role models. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Yes.
Yeah, I will be closing the session. I declare the
Session closed.